Chapter 2. The morning sun casts its golden rays through the university's eclectic mix of architecture, a juxtaposition of modernity and history that today seems to mock me with its brightness. My steps echo on the cobblestone paths, a rhythmic sound lost amidst the distant hum of student conversations and the whisper of leaves in the gentle morning breeze. Students cluster on the lawns, their laughter and animated discussions forming a lively contrast to the turmoil churning within me. As I meander past the biolab, my usual route tinged with the familiar hum of academic pursuit, I spot Alex, Jamie, Sam, and Morgan from my class. Alex, enthralled by the holographic images dancing above his wrist, sparks the air with an eager question. So who's seen the latest Galaxy Questers? It was like nothing else out there. Jamie, lounging on a mat that molds to their form with a hint of comfort, responds with a wide smile. Oh, for sure. That scene with Captain Vortex and the black hole, just toss physics out the window for a sec. It was jaw-dropping. Sam, ever the skeptic with a penchant for the concrete sciences, tosses in a playful eye roll. Ah, your beloved space sagas. How about something with a touch of reality now and then? Unfazed, Alex retorts with a glint of challenge. Reality? Look, Sam, the day you convince me to sit through a documentary on quantum paint drying is the day I sign up for the one-way trip to Mars. Their playful exchange is momentarily paused by Morgan. On the topic of reality, has anyone dared to tackle that beast of a physics assignment yet? It's like being trapped in a theoretical black hole. Sam, with a hint of smugness, announces, Done it last night. It's surprisingly manageable once you accept that time is merely a construct, and all our existential worries are just specks in the universe. Seizing the moment, Morgan turns to Sam with a hopeful gleam. Any chance you could walk me through it later? I come bearing the sweet lure of ice cream. Sam, pretending to mull it over, eventually agrees. All right, you've got a deal, but it's with rare flavors and exotic toppings. Wandering further, I find solace in its quieter corners, the secluded spots where I can retreat into my own world. Leaning against the cool, aged stone of an old building, I close my eyes, letting the symphony of university life wash over me. My thoughts drift to our family home, modest yet filled with the cozy essence of a life rich in knowledge. We never lived lavishly, but there was comfort in our simple, predictable existence. Our home, humble and unpretentious, is especially dear to me for the small garden my mother tends so lovingly, her sanctuary of greenery and life. The news of our financial struggles strikes a dissonant chord in the melody of our lives. We've lived modestly, yet comfortably, always secure in the knowledge that our basic needs were met. The new situation feels like an earthquake, shaking the very foundations of the stability we've taken for granted. As I resume my walk, each step feels heavier, laden with the weight of my new reality. The stability and predictability of our family life, once as firm and reliable as the historic walls of the university, now seem fragile, threatened by an unseen crack that widens with each passing day. The university, a realm of academic pursuit and personal growth, has been my world for the past few years. Tuition here is free of charge, a policy that reflects the Consortium's commitment to education and progress. My only financial responsibility is the small rent for my dorm room, a manageable expense that allowed me to focus on my studies without the burden of financial stress. But now, as I near the end of my academic journey, with graduation just a few months away, the reality of my situation settles in. Yes, I'll be able to earn a basic income once I start working, but it won't be enough to significantly support my parents. The thought is a weight on my shoulders, a responsibility that I'm eager yet unsure how to fulfill. As a student soon to graduate, I'm acutely aware of the path that lies ahead for new scientists and engineers like myself. The truth is, despite the importance of our work, the initial financial rewards are modest at best. We earn just enough to live a basic life within the city center, but it's far from the prosperity that some other roles might offer. Members of law enforcement, whether in the police force or the military, receive advantageous compensation from the start of their careers in recognition of the risks they take to keep our society safe. For us scientists, what drives us is not the pursuit of wealth. Our motivation lies in the very essence of our work, the opportunity to make a significant contribution to the well-being of society through our inventions and discoveries. We are ignited by the vision of the monumental impact of our research, fueled by the fervent desire to play a pivotal role in the technological evolution of humanity. This is a quest far greater and more exhilarating than our mere existence. In our conferences and discussions, we often emphasize that our work as scientists and engineers is crucial for the city's progress. We are reminded that each new invention, every breakthrough, is a step towards a better future for all citizens. Our lives are indeed fortunate. We have little to complain about. Those without higher education are relegated to working in power plants and factories, environments that are harsh, devoid of challenges, and monotonous. Their earnings are minimal, forcing them to reside in the outer parts of cities, nearly in proximity to the undergrounds. This demarcation underscores a stark divide in society, where educational attainment dictates not just one's professional landscape, but also their geographical and social boundaries, perpetuating a cycle of hardship and limited opportunity. As I pass by another group of students, their laughter a brief respite from my thoughts, I realize the need to look beyond the campus to understand and engage with the world that awaits me after graduation. A world where my family's struggles and the Consortium's role in our society are intricately intertwined in a complex tapestry I have yet to fully comprehend. As I stride down the hilly side of the campus, the evening air, thick with humidity and a hint of sulfur from the distant production plant, clings to my skin. My mind, usually lost in thoughts of family concerns, is abruptly pulled into the present by a sudden commotion ahead. Down in the lower quadrants of the university grounds, an unusual scene unfolds. A tense circle of onlookers has formed, their focus centered on two figures. My pulse quickens. A cocktail of apprehension and a strange surge of adrenaline course through me. I find myself stride toward the commotion. This unexpected spectacle starkly contrasts with the usual ordered and disciplined atmosphere of the university. It's like a crack in the otherwise smooth facade of our academic sanctuary, a jarring reminder that not all is as controlled and serene as it appears. The exchange seems charged with an electric tension, the air thick with unspoken threats. The basketball captain, Gene or John, his name escapes me, is a formidable figure. He's a mass of seething fury, every muscle coiled and ready to strike. His university t-shirt, stretched over broad shoulders, seems almost to strain against the rage building within him. His hands are clenched into fists, raised to strike. Opposite him, a man in black exudes a different kind of intensity. His stature matches the captain's in height, but not in bulk, his build more streamlined but no less imposing. There's an enigmatic quality about him, heightened by his simple yet elegant black attire. His hair is disheveled, giving him a wild, untamed appearance, and his deep-set eyes never waver from his adversary's gaze. They hold a calmness that borders on the unnerving, a stark contrast to the palpable fury emanating from the captain. The crowd around them has formed a hesitant ring, their murmurs, a disjointed chorus to the impending clash. The tension is like a tightrope, taut and quivering, poised to snap at the slightest provocation. It's a scene that feels both surreal and hyperreal, a sudden eruption of raw, primal confrontation amid our everyday academic setting. A woman beside me, her voice tinged with a wild, nosy excitement, exclaims, "Oh my God! Jeff is so strong, he's going to demolish him. You've got to be crazy to infuriate our great captain." So his name is Jeff. I mentally note that, but I'm far from convinced about the outcome as this woman seems to be. Something about this confrontation feels off. "Well, that's debatable," I counter, my interest in the man dressed in black intensifying. She gives me a look with eerie eyes, as if questioning my sanity. Jeff, fittingly named the Great Captain, is the classical model of brute strength. His physique and demeanor are reminiscent of a force vector with both magnitude and direction, but lacking in nuance, effective on the basketball court. From an analytical standpoint, Jeff's opponent presents a captivating case study in contrast. Despite a leaner frame, he exudes a calmness that borders on boredom, particularly in the face of Jeff's evident aggression. This could represent a psychological tactic, akin to an intriguing variable in an experiment. It's either a critical miscalculation or a sly stratagem, indicating concealed strengths. And on a more personal note, there's an undeniable aesthetic appeal in observing his defined musculature gracefully outlined beneath the black fabric. It's not the ostentatious display of power that Jeff exhibits, but rather a more subtle, perhaps more efficient physical form. It's a visual that appeals not only to my intellect, but also, admittedly, to my subjective feminine appreciation of form. Jeff lunges, a fist cutting through the air, aiming to strike, but his opponent is a blur of motion, effortlessly dodging each blow. The crowd is silent, breaths held. There's a quick exchange of words, inaudible from my distance, but it only fuels Jeff's rage. The atmosphere is charged, the audience of students holding their breath. Jeff, the captain, launches an aggressive strike, but his opponent, with an almost unnatural swiftness, evades every blow. The fluidity of his movements is mesmerizing, his body swaying with a dancer's grace. What happens next is a blur of motion. A dry, sinister crack, the sound of cartilage shattering. A cold shiver runs down my spine. 2 white flashes, fists as fast as bullets, struck Jeff's face. The captain collapses, a disjointed puppet, his knees hitting the floor with a dull thud. Blood spurts from his nose. A scarlet stain blossoms on the grayish concrete. Time suspends its flight, each detail frozen in a grotesque tableau. Jeff's grimace of pain, the man in black's cruel smile, the wide eyes of the students. For a moment, time seems to freeze. Everything is still. Nausea threatens to overwhelm me at the raw, visceral brutality. The tension in the crowd is palpable. The enigmatic man's face betrays no emotion as he effortlessly weaves through the crowd, who part for him, their eyes tracking his every move. Fear is evident on their faces, mixed with a hint of morbid curiosity. Jeff remains on his knees, clutching his bleeding nose, a string of muffled curses escaping his lips. His bloodshot eyes stare at the ground, unable to meet the gaze of those who witnessed his defeat. I stand there, my heart pounding in my chest, feeling a surge of emotions I can't quite name. Anger, fear, intrigue, they all swirl within me. Fights are rare on campus, and witnessing such raw, unfiltered violence leaves me shaken. With the echoes of the confrontation still ringing in my ears, I make my way toward the history building, trying to shake off the impact of what I've just witnessed. The raw physicality of the fight stands in stark contrast to the scholarly pursuits that usually fill my days. My steps feel heavier, each one weighed down by a mix of shock and confusion. As I enter the history building, a comforting, albeit somewhat anachronistic scent greets me. The soothing aroma of old books. It's a reassuring reminder of a bygone era, a time when these halls were lined with shelves of leather-bound tomes. Now, in an age where digital screens dominate, the scent feels like a sanctuary, a vestige of the past that calms the soul. The building itself is a blend of the past and the present, its historic architecture housing modern classrooms. I've always found comfort in this blend, a symbolic reminder that knowledge is timeless. I find my seat in the classroom, the wooden desks smooth under my fingertips. Around me, my classmates chat about upcoming exams and weekend plans, their voices a comforting return to normalcy. Yet, as the professor of political science begins the lecture, my thoughts are still partly with the scene I left behind on the campus grounds. Today's lecture is about societal behavior and the Consortium's influence, a topic that now holds a deeper relevance for me. There's something about the way Professor Malcolm speaks that commands attention. His eloquence is reminiscent of the public discourses given by the members of the council, clear, persuasive, and imbued with an authoritative cadence that leaves no room for doubt. Each sentence he utters is meticulously crafted, his words flowing with a rhythm and precision that captivates the room. It's as if he's not merely imparting knowledge, but weaving a narrative, drawing us into the tapestry of history he unfolds with each lecture. Professor Malcolm begins by outlining the origins of the global conflict that led to the formation of the Triad Consortium. Resource scarcity, particularly in energy, water, and technology, fueled decades of tension, he explains. Differing moral and ideological stances between continents on climate change, human rights, and cyber governance only exacerbated these tensions. My dear students, each culture, proud and assured of the superiority of its values, attempted to impose its worldview, its morality on all others. Every country believed it held the key to absolute truth. This inability to embrace a plurality of perspectives brought our world to the brink of the abyss, plunging our societies into a devastating conflict that nearly became our downfall. The professor continues, In its wisdom, the Consortium discerned the very root of our tumults and made a bold decision enshrined in the treaty that has redefined the foundations of our coexistence. A ban on the exchange of information between the blocks serves as a bulwark against the mistakes of the past. Each block, within its borders, is now free to cultivate its own values, to live according to its own rules, without the external influence of other cultures. As he shares his thoughts, I struggle to contain my gratitude. This decision, my dear students, is a blessing for us all. It's a precious legacy that the Consortium has bequeathed to us. True harmony lies not in the domination of a single morality, but in the absolute sovereignty of our existences. Each word resonates within me, affirming my unshakable faith in the Consortium. How could one not be grateful to this wise and protective entity that had navigated through the tumults of history to offer us a haven of peace and order? In my mind, I see these cities rising like fortresses in a wounded world, their very existence testifying to the resilience and ingenuity of mankind. Yet beyond their limits, the wild land is abandoned, a reminder of the enduring scars of war. Professor Malcolm continues, detailing the monumental efforts of reconstruction. They faced a landscape scarred by war, lands contaminated, water poisoned. The task at hand was not just to rebuild, but to resurrect. His words echo in the hall, resonating with the unspoken understanding of what that resurrection entailed. Resources were scarce, necessitating a focus on key urban centers. Megacities like Lugdunum became the heartbeats of these blocks, bastions of new life amidst the desolation. Professor Malcolm insists the water still tainted by the remnants of war could only be purified within these city confines. Outside, the land remains untouched, reclaimed by nature in a wild, unyielding embrace. Professor Malcolm's description of the wilderness beyond stirs a sense of longing in me, a curiosity about the world that exists outside our meticulously controlled environment. Transportation, he explains, is a luxury of the skies. The vast, contaminated expanses can only be traversed by air, the cities connected by the flight paths of expensive transporters. As you know, these flying vessels are the lifelines between our urban sanctuaries, ferrying supplies and people across the voids of uninhabitable land. As the lecture draws to a close, my mind lingers on the image of our world, a patchwork of vibrant cities and forgotten wilderness. It's a stark reminder of the fragility of our existence, of the delicate balance that holds our society together in the aftermath of a past that forever altered the course of humanity. Professor Malcolm's voice takes on a tone of solemn finality. The Consortium, he says, is far more than a mere governing entity. It is a symbol, a beacon of resilience and authority. Its very foundation is deeply rooted in the harrowing struggles and hard-won triumphs of our post-war recovery. The recent fight on campus is indirectly referenced, with a student commenting on how such physical altercations are seen as remnants of a less civilized time, incompatible with the Consortium's vision of order and harmony. After the class, I linger in the hallway, still pondering the complexities of societal behaviors and the Consortium's role. Lena, my classmate, sidles up to me as we exit the lecture hall, her presence almost electric with the latest campus gossip. She's a whirlwind of words, each sentence punctuated with laughter or an exclamatory gesture. Her voice, often the loudest in any room, carries the latest tales and rumors that weave their way through our university's social fabric. Yet, for all her love of gossip, Lena possesses a surprisingly sharp intellect, frequently challenging the norms and sparking lively debates in our classes. She leans in, an arm around my shoulders, her eyes sparkling like champagne bubbles. "Girl, you missed the scoop of the century," she exclaims in a theatrical voice, an epic battle between two insanely hot Greek gods that sent the female student body into an orgasmic frenzy, she says, barely containing her excitement. Jack Calderon, you know, the enigmatic hot guy who always lurks at the back of our sociology class, and Jeff, of all people, the star of the basketball team. I raise an eyebrow, intrigued. Two Greek gods, you say? But I know exactly who she's referring to. Oh, but you know these two specimens, Lena exclaims, her hands waving in the air like a passionate conductor. Jack Calderon, the mysterious bad boy lurking in the back of our sociology class, and Jeff, the basketball team star. His name is Jack. I note, an amused smile stretching my lips. I caught a glimpse of this altercation, if you can even call it that, It was more like a quickie between classes, right? I chuckle at my own joke. Lena bursts out laughing. You have a way with words, darling. But get this. Jack had a little fling with Jeff's girlfriend. Just once, apparently, but Jeff found out and boom. Lena mimes a punch. Jack is a one-night stand kind of guy, no strings attached, Lena explains, her eyes sparkling with a mix of disapproval and fascination. He sleeps with all the hot girls on campus, but he doesn't have feelings, Lena sighs. Serious attachment issues. Kinda like you, actually, she adds with a laugh. Easy with the analogies, I don't collect broken hearts like hunting trophies, I exclaim, raising my hands in defense. I simply have a strong inclination for freedom and autonomy. Lena doesn't seem convinced. Whatever you say, babe, she says with a playful wink. Before Lena departs, she drops another piece of information, almost casually, yet it clings to my thoughts with a tenacious grip. You know, there's more to Jack, she adds, her tone tinged with a touch of hesitancy. Word has it, he's tangled up in the underground fighting scene. We're not talking mere scuffles here, but rather organized, secretive bouts, the kind people place bets on. As Lena delves deeper into her tale, weaving the narrative of Jack's involvement in underground fighting, a flicker of skepticism stirs within me. The idea seems too far-fetched, too disconnected from the reality we live in. This has to be just a rumor, Lena, I interject, unable to mask my doubt. I mean, the idea of a student getting involved in something as risky as underground fighting seems implausible. It's not something you just stumble into. Lena looks at me, her expression a mix of intrigue and concern. It's like he's living a double life. Here, he's just the quiet guy in the back of the class, but out there. She trails off, leaving the sentence hanging, as if the thought of what Jack might be outside these walls is too complex to articulate. As she walks away, I find myself grappling with this new information. Jack, already a figure of intrigue, now seems even more enigmatic. His involvement in the underground fighting scene suggests a life led on the fringes, one that defies the typical image of a university student. Seated on a secluded bench, a haven of quiet amidst the campus's bustling life, I find my gaze inadvertently drawn to a solitary figure. There, in the cool shade of an old building, is Jack. He's lounging against the wall, a cigarette loosely held between his fingers, seemingly lost in his thoughts, or perhaps defiantly detached from the world around him. From this distance, he appears almost serene, a stark contrast to the violent energy I witnessed in the fight. Or maybe he's now helped by the substance he's smoking. The sun filters through the leaves, casting a patchwork of light and shadow around him. I watch him, my mind replaying the earlier altercation, Lena's comments, and the rumors of his underground fighting. He's a contradiction, a disruption to the predictable patterns. His presence on campus is a reminder that there are layers to this world that I've yet to uncover. As I'm lost in these thoughts, Jack's gaze suddenly lifts and our eyes meet across the distance. It's a fleeting connection, but in that brief moment, there's an intensity that catches me off guard. His eyes, dark and unreadable, meet mine, and for a moment, the world seems to pause. An electric shiver races down my spine. In this suspended instant, my breath shortens, and the air between us vibrates with a palpable tension, almost tangible. In his gaze lies an unspoken promise, a silent call that seems to say, I'm the flame, come too close and you'll get burned. It's a dangerous game, a flirtation with the unknown, where each heartbeat feels both like an invitation and a caution. The moment passes and I look away, but the impact lingers. I find myself irresistibly drawn to his wild magnetism. His presence is undeniable, a masterpiece sculpted in the marble of allure, an invitation to flirt with the forbidden. Goodness, my body is no longer my own. Hormones, those fervent messengers coursing through me, orchestrate a rebellion against all reason. They ignite a passion both exhilarating and perplexing, plunging me into a whirlwind of forbidden desires. I'm left to ponder the inexplicable pull Jack has on me. His allure is undeniable, a form sculpted in the very essence of attraction, casting a spell even in the simplicity of his stance. It's perhaps the most logical explanation for this sudden, intense feeling. Well, he's gorgeous, very attractive body, I admit to myself, attempting to rationalize the sudden unsettling emotion, the uncharacteristic skip in my heartbeat. This must be the root of the attraction, a primal, biological response. My scientific mind seeks refuge in this explanation, but I don't want complicated. My life, thus far meticulously planned and executed, has little room for the unpredictable whirlwind of dangerous entanglements. Getting up from the bench, Jack's intense gaze stubbornly clings to the edges of my thoughts, like an uninvited guest who's overstayed their welcome. I have this niggling suspicion that this isn't our final act. I can't shake the feeling that he'll be making an uninvited yet vivid appearance in my dreams tonight, uncensored and unrestrained. As I meander through the campus, still lost in thoughts about Jack and the complex world he represents, my communicator pings with an incoming message. It's from my parents. My heart sinks. I hear the message, hoping for some words of reassurance, but instead I find the opposite. It's their voices, familiar yet tinged with a heaviness I've never heard before. They explain, with a forced calm, the decline of our family's financial situation. They try to coat the message with optimism, but the underlying tone of distress is unmistakable. They're struggling more than they initially let on, and their attempts to shield me from worry only amplify my concern. In their message, my parents begin with a confession, admitting they hadn't previously been completely forthright with me. This was too difficult, but we need to be honest with you, they say. The pension, we no longer believe it will be paid. My father's voice fails him. We don't understand exactly what's happening, but it's as if we've been sidelined. Our offers to work as consultants have also been rejected. They speak of the necessity to leave our family home, the one place I've always known as my safe haven. It's where they spent 22 years of their life, where every corner holds a memory, every inch a piece of my childhood. My mother's voice breaks slightly as she talks about leaving our neighborhood, a community that's been more than just neighbors. They're friends, almost family. The realization hits me hard. The stability and comfort I grew up with are now slipping through our fingers like grains of sand. As I mull over my parents' early retirement, it strikes me that I don't actually know the full story behind it. They were deeply involved in seawater decontamination research, a field that's supposedly no longer in demand. But that doesn't quite add up in my mind. With so many lakes, groundwater sources, and fields still suffering from contamination, their work seems more vital than ever. Why would such essential expertise suddenly be deemed unnecessary? I realize they just accepted their early retirement without really discussing it with me. The details, the reasons behind the decision, it was all kept at a distance. It's as if they quietly closed a chapter of their lives, one that was so integral to who they are, and I was left in the dark, piecing together the fragments. It's odd, considering how open we usually are as a family. This uncharacteristic silence from them leaves me with more questions than answers. They have always been staunch supporters of the Consortium, their lives markedly improved by its policies and governance. In their eyes, the Consortium is not just a ruling entity, but a symbol of stability and progress, a beacon in the chaos that once threatened to engulf our world. Their unwavering belief in the system, however, stands in stark contrast to the personal challenges they've faced. The forced retirements and delayed pensions have hit them hard. I can see the struggle behind their steadfast loyalty, the tension between their support for the Consortium and the impact of its decisions on our family life. It's a complex paradox. On one hand, they are grateful for the peace and order that the Consortium has brought to our lives. On the other, they bear the brunt of some of its more challenging policies. In the resilience of those around me, I discern the very soul of our society, proud, brimming with gratitude, yet irrevocably marked by the intricacies of the system that overshadows our lives. Their battles, juxtaposed with their unwavering support, reflect the complex narrative that threads through our community, where loyalty to the Consortium often intertwines with personal tribulations inflicted by the same structures that promise to uphold us. The urge to reach out to them is overwhelming. Yet, what words of solace can I offer? My desire to assist is genuine, yet it's shadowed by a profound sense of incapacity. As I meander further, enveloped by frustration and a creeping sense of helplessness, the realities of my impending graduation loom over me. The dim prospects in my field of study offer no leverage to lift the burdens they shoulder. Their financial precarity looms large, casting a pall over my academic strides. turning my triumphs to dust. The world around me begins to contort, its once stable ground now shifting under my feet in a disorienting ballet of confusion. Nausea, a visceral testament to the internal chaos, takes hold, binding me in its relentless grasp. My life, meticulously charted, now veers into uncharted tumult, severed from any semblance of the familiar. Amidst these turbulent reflections, a billboard catches my eye, standing out with an unexpected clarity. It advertises positions in the local police force aid, tailored for students seeking part-time engagement. The promise of decent pay, flexible scheduling, and a chance to serve strikes a chord within me. For a fleeting moment, the message feels like a beacon, illuminating a path through the financial gloom that has ensnared my family. Though I've never been one to chase after signs or fate, the principle of seizing opportunity resonates deeply. This might just be the lifeline we need, a chance to reclaim agency in a situation where I've felt increasingly powerless. The prospect of joining the police force aid, once a notion far removed from my considerations, now emerges as a tangible solution. It presents a dual opportunity to alleviate my family's financial strain and to contribute to the community. This path is fraught with challenges, propelling me into realms beyond the familiar comforts of academia, yet the dire needs of my family eclipse any reservations. As I continue my walk back to my room, the idea of enlisting in the police force aid weaves through my thoughts, a constant presence demanding attention. This decision is not to be made lightly. It heralds a foray into demands of a different nature, requiring a resilience and fortitude I've yet to test. Yet, the imperative to support my family, to stand in the breach, motivates a readiness to explore this unventured path.